Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report on Time Warner Cable, YouTube, PWRshow.com, and 540 ESPN. Dameon Nelson, along with the man they call
and
Meathead.
iTunes. Don't forget about the iTunes. Are you listening to us right now on iTunes? Hello, I'm in your left ear. Hello, I'm in your right ear.
For joining us on this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report. We've got an exclusive interview with Brother Devon of Team 3D coming up in just a few minutes. Meathead, we're coming off the heels of TNA's Bound for Glory just last weekend.
I'm still on my heels.
Just south of here in Chicago, Illinois.
Hoffman Estates.
At length on this week's ESPN radio version of the show about Bound for Glory. Great show. Make sure you check out the wrap-up that we did of TNA's fan interaction from Chicago and also Bound for Glory inside the Sears Center and get all the details and updates and results from that show. Speaking of shows, let's go on with this one and talk about a couple of news items. Firstly, from WWE, Randy Orton. Looks like we have an in-ring return date set for the Survivor Series.
Smoking cigarettes during that.
Well, you can find a video on YouTube of him searching for his latest grit. Randy Orton back in the ring. Looks like Survivor Series. Obviously, John Cena out with a big injury, and we see a lot more about him returning soon. Some are saying maybe Survivor Series as well. Randy Orton,
Get your haterade ready.
Randy Orton playing a prominent role on WWE television over the last few weeks. What do you expect to see with the return of Randy Orton to the ring?
Push for the belt.
He says he's going back to the gold, whether it's Batista or whether it's Jericho. He's taking the gold, and it seems as the Survivor Series will be the big place. Now at Cyber Sunday, he's one of the 3 people who are potentially going to be the special guest referee in that matchup. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, and Randy Orton. Randy Orton coming out on Raw this past Monday night saying, do not vote for him. As you vote via your mobile phone, via text message.
As long as you're in the country, in the U.S.
Yes. What does that mean if Randy Orton is selected to be the referee for that match? Does that make sense going into Survivor Series?
You know,
thus proving that the voting is fixed.
It's fixed. I thought that Stone Cold Steve Austin would be the easy and obvious choice to be the guest referee, but excuse me, it's got me broken up inside. I'm still recovering from BFG, but you know, Randy Orton maybe
BFG, not being a G.
Pippin ain't easy. You know, it ain't easy.
You were saying?
No, Randy Orton would make sense to be the guest referee.
It would. A recent suspension from WWE as a result of the WWE wellness policy. Mm-hmm. And we'll just say, hi, I'm Dolph Ziggler.
I'm suspended.
For 30 days, his first violation.
You touched me.
His real name, Nick Nemeth. Dolph Ziggler, gone for 30 days from WWE. And as remember, just like I said last week on the radio show, I was just getting to like Dolph. Who? Ziggler. It was like almost like Dolph Lundgren.
He's almost like a wrestling version of Dirk Diggler.
I don't know who that is.
Yes, you do.
I do know who the Ultimate Warrior is. The Ultimate Warrior's wife is releasing a tell-all book. People are going to snatch this one up, ladies and gentlemen. Her name's Sherry Tyree, saying that she's selling books. It's the book writes, rather, to her memoir about her marriage to the Warrior. It's called Behind the Paint, My Life with Wrestling's Ultimate Warrior. And here's the pitch for the book, and we'll read it as she wrote it. For the very first time, the wife of professional wrestling star speaks out. Sherry Tyree was married for 10 years.
Oh, no.
To Jim Hellwig, known as the Ultimate Warrior, actually known now as just Warrior.
Warrior, that's his legal name.
Change. And saw him through his meteoric rise and bizarre fall from the pinnacle of WWE. Warrior packed the aisles and was a merchandising boom for professional wrestling fans known as Little Warriors. I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah.
Little Warriors screamed and cheered. Were you a Little Warrior?
No.
You are, well, that's what I heard.
Would you like to see the Big Warrior?
And then were left baffled by his abrupt disappearance at the height of his success. Actually, that was in Green Bay, Wisconsin in 1996. I was there.
During a 6-show Raw.
Hellwig was a man possessed by demons, abusing steroids to achieve his massive muscular frame, and then pain medications and anti-anxiety drugs to quell his fears, who led a secretive double life that filled his marriage with turmoil and doubts about his fidelity and even his sexuality.
But Jim Hellwig, as you'll come to find out when you go get the book, that he's very anti-gay and very anti-drugs.
He continues to be a media personality, does Hellwig, as we close out her comments, even outside the wrestling ring, making frequent personal appearances, and has a lot to say when he's out on the tour. Are you going to pick up this book?
What book?
Are you going to read it at least on Amazon.com? You can Google it now, I guess. I'm
going to go home and Google myself afterwards, thinking about some other stuff.
A lot of people have heard about it and seen about it, the Iron Sheik's roast. A little bit of a problem there with Scott Hall, who showed up under the influence of something, reports indicating, causing a scene which ended up having the New Jersey State Police involved. We have an official statement from Sean Oliver, who is the promoter
like this.
of the
I wish I
roast.
could be the Sandman and be as disruptive at Captain Lou's as I am at Iron Sheik's.
Which video was better, Sandman's or Scott Hall's?
Sandman's was a lot better.
He goes on to say, there are a couple of issues I would like to address lest they overshadow the greatness of the evening. The Scott Hall incident, which has grown to mythic proportions, is probably what you're hearing about. Well, duh. Somewhere in the middle of the show, Scott entered the ballroom in what can only be described as an altered state. I make no assumptions about exactly what altered his state. I assume it was an overwhelming excitement about the magnitude of this gala event.
Who wrote this? Honestly.
Irrespective.
Who wrote that?
Irrespective to this detail. Hall wandered around the crowd for a bit, heckling, booing, and being generally disruptive. His attempts to get noticed by the fans worked, and now the crowd was catcalling and egging him on. The show has now been disrupted for no apparent reason, and I asked him if he wanted to take the stage and do a set, and that would be more appropriate to get himself on the show. He declined, stating he didn't know the Iron Sheik well enough. Well, then there was a comedian who made an off-color joke about the death of Owen Hart, and that obviously set Scott Hall off, who went and actually attacked the comedian, who has since apologized for his comment.
The big deal, actually, after that, the Scott Hall incident is the one that's making the news, but what didn't make the news was the Iron Sheik swung at Brian Blair.
Brian Blair.
Let it go, man!
The Iron Sheik was been on this very program. Make sure you check out that interview in the interview section of pwrshow.com. So an interesting story. Scott Hall not really doing himself any favors lately as it pertains to his perception in the professional wrestling world. And really a sad story, especially look at what happened with Jake Roberts a couple of weeks ago. Video available of that as well. And some saying he had been drugged and didn't necessarily do it himself. We don't know that. But it just shows the tragedy that sometimes follows a successful entertainment career, not necessarily just a wrestling
and
career.
not just necessarily an entertainment or wrestling career. That's just a microcosm of what could happen to anyone.
Speaking of anyone, we have not just anyone coming up in just a moment, and we're going to take you to that exclusive interview right now from TNA Wrestling. It's Brother Devon, one part of Team 3D, big role they played in what we called the match of the week last week on ESPN Radio, Monsters Ball from Bound for Glory this past Sunday.
Testify!
Let's go now to the Impact Zone with Brother Devon.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Dameon Nelson here again from the Pro Wrestling Report. We are with one half of what many call the greatest tag teams of all time.
Not one of the best tag team of all time, but I'll take a second seat to the Road Warriors.
Brother Devon, welcome.
Thank you.
To the Pro Wrestling Report. Now, we want to take a little time and just talk about the amazing career you've had, how you got into the business. Obviously, you've been in so many companies and been the champion and all, which is a key point. But how did you first get involved in professional wrestling?
Well, I was a kid growing up in Brooklyn, grew up in the projects, and found out about a wrestling school in Brooklyn called Gleason's Gym, which is run by Johnny Rodz, the unpredictable one. He was in the old WWF. Worldwide Wrestling Federation. And he basically, when he retired, he opened up a school in Brooklyn. I found out about it, and I joined. Spent 5.5 years down there, busting my behind and doing what wrestlers who want to make it as a wrestler do in this business, and that's pay their dues. And I've done that, and everything paid off.
Obviously, that took you through ECW, WWE, now in TNA Wrestling. And it's almost not fair to condense all of that into just that statement there, but being a champion time and time and time again, owning the tag team division, continuing to innovate your style to match up with the newer tag teams coming up or what have you, how do you do it? How do you keep on that pulse of what's going on in professional wrestling as far as how to continue to be champion time and time again?
You beat up all the young talent. No, we go in there and we do what brought us to the dance. I think a lot of people in this business, it's one thing to repackage yourself and to go out there and to show that new package, but the fans are still familiar with the old stuff as well. So when you take the old and you mix it in with the new, that's what really keeps you generating. That's what really keeps you going. When you got guys from yesterday who are still in this business and still going strong, in other companies or even in this company, they don't take too much of the new school philosophy. They take some of it, mix it in with what they used to do, old school, I like to say, and you combine it into one. I think one of the greatest things that I like to say about me and Bubba is, and Bubba likes to use this analogy, we're like the rock group Kiss. You know,
I'm not sure your tongue's that long.
No, not as long as Gene Simmons, but I don't know. Someone might say it. But you know, it's like the rock group Kiss, where when you go see Kiss, you're looking for the fireworks. You're looking for Gene Simmons with the tongue and spitting the blood, and you want to hear Detroit Rock City and all of those great things and rock and roll all night. You want to hear all those great things that made Kiss what they are today. When they first came back on the scene, they blew up. With the fireworks and everything like that. People were interested. They loved them. It's the same thing with Team 3D. We're going to give you the what's up. We're going to give you 3D. We're going to give you everything that the Team 3D is known for. Tables, ladders, and chairs too. Oh my! We're going to give you all of that, and that's something that we never ever strayed away from. Our roots, our ground, where we started was ECW. The hardcore, no taking any mess, ass kicking at all times. That's us. That's what we do best, and that's what we're going to continue to do until the day we hang up those boots.
And you've been very smart about it as well, getting into some other business ventures and expanding your horizons, if you will, for that day that will obviously come for all professional wrestlers, a day where you will no longer be able to perform in the ring. So,
absolutely.
The art of tag team wrestling. Some say it's gone away. Some say their focus is not there. When you look back at the days of the Road Warriors, the Demolition, the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express. Do you agree with that statement?
I agree with it to a certain degree. I agree it's lost because not because of the business. I think it's because of, one, some of the promoters, and I think number two, you don't have the talent out there that know how to be a real good tag team anymore. I think people a lot in this business, especially the young talent, is in for me and me only, and I think that's what's really coming across. When you haven't been brought up in this business the correct way, when you haven't really done what it takes to get to the big dance, it's hard for you to carry on or have that concept of what it takes to become a great tag team, when you're in one. So, as far as me and Brother Ray are concerned, we basically go back to the old school. We basically take it back to when Ole and on. Take it back to the legendary Road Warriors. Take it back to Dory and Terry Funk. And the list goes on and on. The Rock and Roll Express. We still watch videotapes. We still, try to emulate, or not, if not emulate, take a little bit from them and then incorporate it in our, style. We still try to go back to the old school because remember, what was once old is now new again, and we have to continue to do that because if you don't, this art of the business itself will be lost.
That's where we got to leave it, because you just testified, if you will. This is Dameon Nelson for the Pro Wrestling Report here with Brother Devon. Thank you so much for your time, and we will be right back right here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report. Brother Devon of TNA Wrestling having a lot to say about the history of tag team wrestling and how Team 3D fits in with the new breed, if you will, and the old breed of professional wrestling.
That was in WCW, wasn't it? The New Blood?
For those of you that don't remember, because it's been longer than 3 years. We've long said that wrestling fans...
Longer than 3 years since you said it?
It is WCW
it's been more than 3
World
minutes
Championship Wrestling is a defunct professional wrestling organization.
Ironically, it's still remembered.
In 2001 when WWE purchased it. I went out and I bought my competition.
The fate of WCW is in my hands.
TNA, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, again coming off the heels of that huge Bound for Glory pay-per-view, which apparently we're marks for. Or am I a mark or are you a mark?
No, we're both TNA marks now, and apparently Mr. Foreman
I thought I was a WWE mark.
Mr. Foreman thinks my name is Mark.
No, Freak.
Freak and Mark.
Of the Man Cow Show.
All of it. All
TNA Wrestling has apparently come to terms on the release of Karen Angle. Karen Angle, nothing creatively to do with her, as you saw, especially after she got out of the big storyline with her husband, Kurt Angle,
and Prince AJ.
That she was doing Karen's Angle, and then that played into the Sanjay Dutt SoCal Valve storyline, and then from there, really nothing. I mean, we saw Kaz on there talking about his retirement or his departure from TNA.
And then Mick Foley.
And then Mick Foley as well. So TNA saying goodbye, it looks like, to Kurt Angle. Obviously,
and Karen Angle, not Kurt Angle.
But obviously the divorce to Kurt Angle probably having a substantial factor in that decision.
Yeah. Even though, Goldust was able to work for a long time afterwards with Terry.
Golden Dust, according to Santino Morata. Jeff Jarrett has been against, apparently, the rumors that are out there about TNA adding another singles championship. And I support Jeff on this one because he says that adding another title may diminish the focus on the existing titles that are there. And I think TNA, with their 4 titles rather, is right exactly where they need to be as far as championships.
3 singles,
in
2 men's.
WWE.
Well, actually, the X Division doesn't have a definition, and that's something they can
Well,
do.
it has a title.
No, it doesn't have a definition. It's no limits. So that means that at some point, let's say a high spot female wrestler
Ooh.
could go for the X
Like when
Division
China
title.
won the Intercontinental Championship?
She was only half champion.
Half champion.
Yeah.
We see it in WWE.
She's also half
There
man,
are
too.
belts galore in WWE. Tag straps essentially mean nothing. The World and IC title, most of the time, essentially mean nothing.
What about the U.S.?
Smart move by, I said
Who's the-
World, sorry, U.S. and IC
I was
title.
going to say, who's the U.S. champion?
I couldn't pick him out of a crowd of 2.
Sure, you could. He looks just like you, and there ain't no
I
stopping
don't
him.
have blonde hair
Yes.
anymore. It was a phase I was going through back in the early 90s. But, yeah, the TNA really was smart keeping their titles limited as far as with the ones that they have, and the value of those titles stay strong as a result of that. So a smart move, in my opinion, by TNA. Speaking of TNA, you saw on Impact last night Mick Foley come out to announce his retirement from TNA, if you will, because he had fulfilled his contractual obligation. What we have heard is that he has indeed signed a 6-month deal with TNA. Not sure if he's going to wrestle as part of that deal, but indeed a 6-month deal with TNA. So TNA progressing the storyline that includes Mick Foley on Impact this past week.
Awesome. And that's nice. You know, Mick, what a long, storied career in TNA. I've enjoyed every part of it, like that 1 week and the other week, and Bound for Glory.
Was it anything like that one time at band camp?
Well, I knew a girl that did something with a flute once.
This week in history. We didn't get to it on the ESPN radio show this Monday night, but it was back in 1992 when the team of Money Inc.
Not Beer Money.
Ed DiBiase and Irwin R. Shyster defeated the Natural Disasters, Earthquake, and Tugboat
Where
for
was
the
Typhoon?
World WWF Tag Team Championship.
Where was Typhoon at that point?
Maybe it was Typhoon or Earthquake.
You're the one that said...
Tugboat became Typhoon. Will you stop it? Why are you trying to distract me from all the millions of people watching out there that tuned in to see me? My Lord, that's courtesy of WrestleView.com this week in history, courtesy of WrestleView.com. Meathead?
Apparently we
Devon?
worked for WrestleZone.
That's
it
what somebody
WrestleZone
may
or
have thought.
WrestleView?
It doesn't matter. But what does matter is, again, coming off the heels of TNA's Bound for Glory, it was an exhausting weekend, but a great weekend nonetheless. Fan interaction was great. Bound for Glory, in our opinion, whether you like it or not, in our opinion, Bound for Glory, at least I'll speak for myself, was an excellent pay-per-view show. One of the better shows from TNA Wrestling from the Sears Center in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. And a lot of people out there, Meathead, comparing it to WrestleMania. Well, in essence, it should be compared to WrestleMania.
Correct.
But at the same time, it should not be.
It cannot.
Because WWE poured, I think the number out there is about $20 million into the production and the marketing of WrestleMania. And TNA just simply not in that
Bound for
position.
Glory. But what Bound for Glory is an exhibition of their best. That is them coming out and showing off what they can do. You got Sting flying. You got Samoa Joe flying. You got Jeff Jarrett flying.
Everyone
I'm not
stepped
saying,
up.
and I'm not saying flying is what equals them putting out their best. But you got these guys that normally don't do these particular spots, going that extra step to do these things.
And that's what makes it different. I think you can recite in just about every match one big spot or one old crap moment.
Yeah.
Aside from the mixed tag match, which everyone's saying is horrible. Well, hell, I enjoyed it. I thought it was because we wanted to see him gore the whore. You got to trademark that, I guess. But anyways, in every match, there was stuff, just as Meathead said, that you just don't see every week on TNA. It was clearly a special show. They were on the road, had one of their biggest gates ever at the Sears Center in Hoffman Estates, and the fans were rabid. Now, as we are now apparently TNA marks, we went to SmackDown just a couple of weeks ago. I've been to 6 WrestleManias. All right, I don't call it marking out when you simply enjoy.
David's got his list. I haven't gotten to my list yet.
You simply enjoy a show that is put on. Now, there are TNA shows I have not enjoyed, not a single one live, by the way, and I've been to several live TNA shows, and there are WWE shows I don't enjoy. Conversely, there are shows from WWE I enjoy immensely, shows from TNA I enjoy immensely. As fans, that's the opinion that we have the opportunity to share with you.
Just because you hear
you can call us marks if you want, but I've said before you all said that I was a mark. So
just because
buy the shirt. PWR
just because you hear us
shop, buy the shirt. I'm a mark.
Yeah, just because you hear us talking about TNA, again, as mentioned in the forum, as mentioned over and over and over, business is business. So if TNA wants to work out something, we're going to work out with them. If WWE came to us and said, hey, we'd like to do some stuff with you too, but you can't talk to TNA, we'd say no.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we want to do it all. Same with TNA. If they said, you know what, you got to cut out the WWE, well, that's not going to happen because we're going to do all of it.
And we do it all each and every week right here at pwrshow.com. So we appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedule to tune in. Make sure you tune in again on Monday night. We're going to have a full preview of WWE Cyber Sunday coming up on pay-per-view. And check out the archives of the show. And if you haven't seen it, Jeff Jarrett, Kurt Angle, Christy Hemme, Brother Devon tonight, the Motor City Machine Gun, Sean Devari. Hell, I'm forgetting who else.
Sylvain Grenier, Rob Conway.
We've got 2 other stars lined up on this Monday night's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. So be sure to tune in, ladies and gentlemen. For the man they call Meathead and Frank Cosentino, who I guess according to the people out there is behind the camera, but not really.
He's not. I'll spin the camera around if you
Frank is a traveling man. He travels quite a bit.
He's a rambling man.
So,
rambling man.
Not able to join us. But anyways, for the man they call Meathead and the Cause, this is Dameon Nelson saying thank you for joining us on this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report. So long, everybody.